taken off the
How many
back.
civilians do you believe you've killed?
We don't have exact figures, as you know, it's the fog of war.
But you've got exact numbers for Hamas terrorists
media.
you've killed. Why wouldn't you know how many civilians you've killed? I just find it astonishing that the moment I asked you how many Hamas you killed, you could tell me immediately. And the moment I ask you about civilians, you haven't got a clue, literally. That you're not even prepared to issue a ballpark number. And I think people will find that staggering, particularly given that you are insistent that you're doing everything you can to avoid killing civilians. To which, again, I just simply ask, how do you know?
Hello, guys. Welcome back to Critical African Thinkers. Remember, this is a place where we examine everything under the microscope of logic to ascertain what is most factual and logically consistent. So today, I'm going to be covering a conversation between Piers Morgan and spokesman for the Israeli government and the Israeli people. I think two of them actually, and this interaction just reveals something very, very broken about the way Israel is conducting itself in this war with the Palestinian people. Because as much as they want to say that they're conducting this war against Hamas, I think that they're conducting this war against the Palestinian people. Their actions, everything points to the fact that they are conducting the war not just against Hamas, but against the Palestinian people, right? So, but before we dive right in, if you love reading, if you like reading very interesting books, you can go check out my crime fiction novel on Amazon, and also my collection of poems, which is coming out on the 1st of June. You can find all those links in the description of this video, right? So we'll just jump right into the conversation, but let me just lay the background to say that every time an Israeli spokesman comes on, there's an interview with an Israeli spokesperson, the way they conduct themselves, the way they answer the questions just gives you an insight into the workings of the minds of the Israeli government, that these people don't care about human life, right? That these people don't care about the casualties. They only care about their quote and unquote stated goal, which is, destroying Hamas. They don't even care about Israeli lives, because there have been situations where they have actually killed Israeli citizens, in this war, right? Citizens that were parts of the hostages that were coming out naked with flags showing that there were no threats. They were killed. Now, mind you, Piers Morgan can be a very, very irritating host, right? But I think he did a fantastic job here. I think this is one of the places where his deficiencies actually became a positive, because he just kept on hammering. Piers can be annoying with his questions when he keeps hammering on the point, but he just kept on hammering on this particular point, and the spokesperson just made a fool of himself. But let's go on.
How many civilians do you believe you've killed?
We don't have exact figures, as you know, it's the fog of war.
But you've got exact numbers for Hamas terrorists you've killed. Why wouldn't you know how many civilians you've killed?
Because obviously our focus is to go after the Hamas terrorists. And
hang on, that does imply that you're putting a bigger premium on killing Hamas terrorists in terms of numbers and accountability than you are on innocent civilians. That can't be right, surely. If you know exactly how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, you must know how many civilians you've killed. Otherwise, you're prioritizing the lives of terrorists over innocent people.
They don't know, quote unquote, the amount of terrorists they've killed. They don't know, they just count a certain number of people and say, oh, these are terrorists, right? They've killed close to 40,000 people in Gaza right now. And they'll tell you that 13,000 of them are Hamas fighters. You've killed up to 13,000 Hamas fighters, right? And there is no proof to show that these people are Hamas fighters. You just have to take the words of the Israeli government. You just have to take their word for it, that the figures that they're giving you is accurate. The same people that would say, oh, you cannot believe what the Gaza Health Ministry is saying. But they just want us to believe that they've killed this. Now, even if they've killed 13,000 Hamas fighters, if you remove 13,000 from up to 40,000, the 40,000 people that they've killed, you see this a disproportionate amount of the people killed in this war so far are civilians. And the Israeli government is not showing any sign of slowing down. Now they want to go to Rafah. They are going to Rafah to start another operation where they are going to kill more people. So what is going to be enough to satiate the Israeli government at this point in time? How many civilians need to die before they say, you know what, we've had enough. Okay, let us look for a political solution to this problem. Because it's a fool's errand to think that you can win this conflict with violence, with force of arms. It's a fool's errand for Israel to think that without a political solution that they're going to get their way. You can kill as many Palestinians as you want to kill, but you're just going to be creating more quote unquote extremists. I won't even say extremists. You're just going to be creating people who have grievances towards the Israeli government and towards the Israeli society that might want to repeat something like October 7th. So except Israel is ready to kill every single person in Gaza, except they're ready to do that.
Piers, with respect, don't put words into my mouth, please. I didn't say exactly 14,000. I said around 14,000. Whereas Hamas...
So what's the difference between exactly 14,000 and around 14,000? If you say you've killed 14,000 or around 14, that's a distinction without a difference. It doesn't mean anything.
Come out with precise numbers that statisticians
give me a
will look at.
ballpark number for civilians.
Well, you can use the ballpark as far as the Hamas figures, which I reject as being false.
Well, if they're false, why would you give me those?
Exactly. So for the figures of the combatants killed, you reject the Hamas numbers, right? You take the Israeli numbers. Now, provide the numbers of civilians you've killed, you say you have no idea. But we can work with the Hamas numbers, which you also reject. So why exactly are you giving that figure? You reject it anyway. So why are you giving that figure to Piers Morgan? Piers Morgan is asking how many civilians are estimated to have been killed in this conflict, and the Israeli government is just throwing its hands in the air and saying, we don't know. We're only counting terrorists, and we're supposed to believe you, right?
I gave you the numbers that I had.
No, you told me you know how many Hamas terrorists you've killed, but you don't seem to have any idea how many civilians you've killed. I'm just bemused. Why wouldn't you keep count of both?
I don't have that information to give you, Piers. If I did, I would.
You literally no idea how many civilians you've been killing.
I can tell you definitively that our aim is to go after Hamas.
No, hang on. I'm sorry to push you on this. That's quite extraordinary. You're an official spokesman.
I mean, if your aim is to go after Hamas, right? Your aim is going to go after Hamas, and almost all the civilian infrastructure in Gaza has been destroyed. Almost all the hospitals in Gaza have been destroyed. Churches have not been left out. Right? Almost everything in Gaza has been destroyed. So you want to tell me that all of those things that are destroyed, schools, hospitals, churches, mosques, buildings, civilian buildings, everything is Hamas? That's crazy.
The Israeli government, and you have no idea how many civilians you've killed. I thought you just told me that you were particularly careful about not killing civilians. But if you don't know how many you've killed, how can you say that with any certainty?
Because even if you were to go by a ratio of the Hamas figures, we would still be far ahead of any Western army. It wasn't my
question. You know, it wasn't my question.
I don't have the information.
Well, you literally have no idea how many civilians you've killed.
It's not that I don't know. I'm not authorized to give the information. I don't have the information.
So which is it? Earlier, he claimed that he didn't know. Now he says he's not authorized to give the figure. So which is it? I mean, is this guy like a DI hire or something? He's looking like Biden's press secretary, right? You don't know, or you're not authorized to give the figures. Which one is it? You're a spokesperson for Israel. You should know those figures. So why are you not authorized to give that figure? What are you hiding exactly? Okay? What's going to happen if you give the figure? Okay, these are the number of innocent civilians that have been killed in this conflict. Regrettable, right? But in prosecuting the war against Hamas, this is the number of civilians that we've killed. They know the insane amount of civilians they've killed. That's why he's not going to give a figure. That's why he's not going to say anything. They know the insane amount of civilians that they've killed.
Complete nonsense. Why are you authorized to give me the number of terrorists you've killed and not a number of civilians?
Exactly.
I don't understand.
And he's not saying anything. He's just not saying anything.
Piers, we will go after Hamas. We will ensure that we...
you want me to believe you're being incredibly careful about how many civilians you're killing, and you have an amazing exemplary record, but you don't know how many civilians you're killing. So how do I know you've been careful?
Piers, when the dust settles, we will come out with the proper numbers.
And, it's very, very possible that they don't even know the amount of civilians that they kill because they're just sitting somewhere and using remote control drones to bomb civilian areas, right? Yeah, that's what they're doing. They're not sending in troops to engage Hamas. They're using AI systems to determine where to target and where not to target. And they're just killing people indiscriminately.
Hamas runs to the press daily
But
with
hang on,
false.
when the dust settles, a lot of people will have died, and you know how many Hamas you've killed, but you don't know how many civilians you've killed. And I'm just asking you why. Why is it you've kept a record of one, but not the other?
Good question.
I personally don't have that information to give to you. You can ask me over and over. I'm not.
You don't have that information, or you're not authorized to give that information. Which is it? Like, come on, stick with one lie. I mean, stick with one lie. Can you be that bad of a liar? You don't have the information, or you're not authorized to give that information. You literally just said seconds ago that you're not authorized to give that information. Now you don't know. Come on.
Not going to come up with more information. I don't personally.
You don't know.
I don't have the information for you today.
Well, you're an official government spokesman for the Israeli government, and you have no idea.
Piers, I came on here to focus on what's going on with the war.
Well, actually, you came on here to answer my questions, I think.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I don't have an answer for you for that.
And I didn't intend to press you on this point because I assumed that you would not respond the way you have. But I've never had an Israeli spokesman who simply said, I have no idea. Particularly after you boasted about the fact that you've been very smart in the way you've avoided killing civilians. How do you know if you've got no idea how many you've killed?
Exactly. If you're making the claim that, oh, Israel is the most moral army in the world, we're doing everything to minimize civilian casualties, then you should be able to back up that claim and say, you know what, in this war that we're engaged in, because of this and this and this that we've done, we have minimized civilian casualties. So if Israel is so good at being the moral army that they claim, then the ratio of Hamas fighters to civilians, the margin should be wide. You should have a huge number of Hamas fighters being killed compared to civilians. But it's totally flipped in this situation. It's so much civilians. And even the so-called Hamas fighters that they say they've killed, how are we so sure that they're not just killing civilians and labeling them as Hamas fighters?
Because I know the way in which the IDF operates. I know the way in which we go after the terrorists in the best possible way. It's not what I've said. It's what General Petraeus has said. It's what John Spencer from West Point has said. It's what multiple British generals have said. Israel goes out of its way to avoid civilian casualties. That's what we'll do. If you can point to me to another conflict by which they have evacuated, got out of harm's way civilians to the extent that Israel has done, then fine.
With respect, Mr. How can you possibly?
That's total bullshit. I mean, that's total bullshit, right? Israel says, okay, can you see how they've been tossing around close to 2 million people in the Gaza Strip? You tell them to evacuate northern Gaza, or they live there, they go somewhere else, and you bomb that same area. You told them to move to Rafah. They are in Rafah currently, and now you want to move your operations into Rafah, and you keep bombing them. How do you move 2 million people within a narrow strip of land? In the space of months, people uproot their lives. Children are being born, and they are on the run for their lives, and the Israeli army can just bomb them at any point in time. I've seen videos of trucks of people moving and they were bombed. I've seen videos of children playing football and they were bombed. Children. I've seen the video of the Israeli hostage who escaped Hamas captivity and was waving a white flag, and he was shot by a sniper. This was somebody who was stark naked. I've seen videos of the World Food Kitchen staffs who were killed. People who the route they were passing through was cleared by Israel as a safe zone that they could pass through, yet they were still shot at. And the first car and Israel admitted that they knew that those people were World Food staff, that they suspected that a single Hamas gunman was with them, a single person. And that was worth killing innocent aid workers over. Suspected, not that they were sure that the person they said was a gunman was with them. A single person. And that was enough for Israel to just, kill people that they know were aid workers. This war has killed more journalists than were killed in World War II. This war has killed more children than all the conflicts in a couple of years summed up together. And the Israeli government has the gall to say, oh, they're the most moral army in the world. I mean, how do you even put those two words together? An army that is moral. It makes absolutely no sense. But these are the kind of things that will come out from the Israeli government.
expect me to accept any comparisons to any other conflict or war, given that you do not know how many civilians you've killed?
Piers, you understand that I can't prosecute the war over the media.
I'm just asking you for basic information. I'm not trying to trap you, and I'm not trying to unfairly harangue you. I think people are watching this and they'll make their own conclusions. I just find it astonishing that the moment I asked you how many Hamas you killed, you could tell me immediately. And the moment I ask you about civilians, you haven't got a clue, literally. That you're not even prepared to issue a ballpark number. And I think people will find that staggering, particularly given that you are insistent that you're doing everything you can to avoid killing civilians. To which, again, I just simply ask, how do you know? If you don't know how many you're killing, how can you possibly be sure that you are, A, doing better than other people waging war elsewhere, or B, that you have any idea how many you're killing? You don't, clearly.